Whoa there, Space Cowboy. Brokeback Bebop is a podcast with explicit content intended only for mature bounty hunters. Listener discretion is advised. Listen to all 40 steamy sessions of the show right now by supporting Brokeback Bebop at patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast.
I think it's time to blow this scene. Get everybody in the stuff together. Okay.
3, 2, 1, à la vie! I don't know how to say jam in French, so I just said let's go.
How bad do you want to tell people why you know how to speak French?
Not at all.
You don't want to be, I actually lived there.
Well, you know, back in my youth, I did spend some time abroad.
I'm a man of the world, Zach.
It's dangerous in here. Let's play outside. Remember that part? No?
Oh, fuck, yeah.
There's like the little weird Cupid angel baby following
Yeah, that thing was
Spike
scary.
around inside the one ride where he's fighting. Do you watch much South Park?
Not up to date.
It reminded me a lot of, there's a running thing in the last handful of seasons, I guess, of like a little baby Cupid Cartman that follows him around, and it was exactly like that. Hi, everybody out there. Welcome to another session of Brokeback Bebop. I'm Zach.
I'm Steven.
And how are you doing, man? I'm glad to
good.
talk.
How are you?
I'm doing okay.
Happy Monday.
Happy whatever day to those
Well, I was
listening.
talking to you, not them. It's not for them yet.
You know, you're right. Sometimes it's easy to forget when we're like speaking to other people through these conversations together that we are actually talking to each other.
On this show, at least, we do.
Hi. That's true. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here for an exciting another session with you, buddy. Sounds like there's like a robot outside who's transforming. Yeah.
Did you see, well, this is
transforming.
community adjacent to our other podcast, that there's going to be a new Transformers animated show, and Danny Pudi is, I think, Bumblebee, or
cool.
He's definitely one of the main Transformers. I don't remember for sure.
I
think
did not
Bumblebee.
see that.
That's pretty cool.
I hope, is it like digital or hand-drawn?
I don't know.
If it's digital,
I just
will
saw
not
like
be
a
watching.
text
Just
press
kidding.
release about him being the voice. I didn't see anything
That's
about
pretty
the show.
cool. Did you watch Transformers as a kid?
Honestly, I watched the first two Michael Bay movies, and that's about it. I didn't really watch the
You get it.
cartoons. Maybe I played with the toys a little bit. I've been on Transformers 3D the ride a few times.
Hey, that was fun. I liked the Transformers
It's no
ride.
Jimmy Fallon the ride, but
No.
it is what it is. Today we're talking about, it's the 21st episode of Brokeback Bebop, but we're talking about the 20th episode session of Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah.
Pierrot Le Fou, Requiem for a Clown.
Well, I liked Transformers as a kid. I remember I got
The
this.
episode was storyboarded by Yoshiyuki Takei. It was directed by Yoshiyuki Takei, and it was written by Sadayuki Mirai.
Ooh, almost got the triple crown.
Why? What did I do wrong?
Not you. The
Doing.
storyboard
I
director.
thought you meant on pronunciation.
You're doing great, Zach.
In Japan, the episode first aired on March 13th, 1999, and in the US it aired on November 5th, 2001, the same day as the previous episode, Wild Horses.
Wow, wild horses.
Let's do some trivia. I got 2 questions for you, and they're very similar.
I've got 3 questions for
Whoa,
you.
you go ahead.
Where's the party that Faye gets invited to?
Spaceland.
Yeah, on Mars. Spaceland.
But it's not really a party, or it
Heyo.
is.
It's a trick.
Yeah. My
a
first
prank.
question, what elevator animal does Spike exit from in Spaceland when he first arrives?
Oh, shit. Is it a penguin?
No, it's a dog that looks very much like one Pluto, the dog.
Oh, shoot. Oh, boy. Michael Eisner's coming for you, Bebop.
Yep.
You better watch
Michael
out.
Eisner specifically.
What's the icy battleground called?
I know that they showed it. I don't know it.
That'll be Iceland.
You know, they
Not
could
to be
have done a
confused with
little. Maybe
Iceland.
it's lost in translation somewhere, but the names are pretty Spaceland.
I'm sure it's not.
Iceland. My other question, what giant falling head almost crushes Spike after Faye shoots it?
Is it a dog?
No, it was a little piggy.
Fuck!
I just said they were similar questions because they both had to do with, like, the animals.
Well, I've got one more for you, buddy.
All right.
What attraction does Spike kill the animatronic dog in front of?
Fuck, I don't know.
Western Land!
I should have just guessed something land, and I could have gotten a half point. Okay, well, that was trivia. That was fun. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. It's been great. I'm Michael Eisner. We'll see you next week, everybody.
And I'm Walt Disney's cryogenically frozen head.
Yep.
If I see one more
You know that
Torah,
can't be
I
true
swear to
because
God.
the podcast would be so much more anti-Semitic if you were.
I try and slip it in where I can.
Yeah, it's coded.
It's very coded. Well, now it's time for Adolf Hitler's 6th favorite segment on our shows.
He's a big fan.
He moderate.
As much as he can understand the concept of podcast, he's a big fan.
Yeah. Can you hear that at all?
No. But it's the Zoom audio thing. Maybe I will when I put it together. And this is the Bebop. I don't edit shit out of this, so everybody can hear it. What's going on?
I don't know what the fuck's going on out there. I truly cannot describe to you what I'm hearing.
Oh. Well, isn't that fun for podcasting?
Yeah, isn't it? It sounds kind of like if like there were like a jackhammer, but it's underwater.
Okay. So it's like... but also like...
Like that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah. And now that's what we've all heard.
But now we're going to hear, we're going to find out, we're going to discover, we're going to unsleuth, we're going to uncover whether or not the undercover brother known as Zach comprehended, I almost want to say comprehend, like understood, comprehended the episode. Did Zach comprehend the episode?
The segment will be, does Steven have a grasp on the English language this week?
Not really. Did Zach comprehend the episode this week? We've got a meaty, puffed up, air-filled boy for you this week, Zach.
Sure,
how you feeling?
I see what you mean. You know, I feel like the episode doesn't have a ton of moving parts, and there are some pieces of information that can be left out while getting the whole story. Mm-hmm. So if I don't know, I feel okay, but it's always a matter of, can I get more than 10 seconds worth of information out in the 20 seconds allowed?
Yeah, it's tricky. Now, where you're wrong, Zach, is the animatronics did have a lot of moving parts. There was a whole parade. Were the animatronics playing the music, or was
Sorry to everyone, because I'm literally drinking an iced coffee right now. The worst thing to drink on a podcast. How do you like that? How do you like that ice noise? Yeah. A drink with ice. I've done it once or twice while we're podcasting, and it truly is a bad choice because you can't edit around it very well.
Yeah, I very specifically choose my beverages beforehand. I've got a very comically large bottle of water here that I will be sipping from. It's tap, though.
Steven, I have heard every possible noise that could come from your mouth. I can close my eyes and hear the sound of your body digesting water, and it makes me fucking sick.
I pass gas sometimes, and I just hope that Zach either edits it out or the Zoom
or bass blasts it. Don't podcast edit anyone. I'm one of those people that, sorry, I keep stalling, but mouth noises, food noises especially, if I can hyperfixate on them, really gross me out. Mm-hmm. I'm sure Lily hates it, but I have to be like, please don't eat until I can turn something on, so it's not like the only noise I hear. It's like worse than nails on a chalkboard to me. So if you're that type of person, don't get into audio editing, especially just people talking for 3 hours, because the human body is disgusting and makes horrible, horrible noises all the time.
Yeah.
Anyway, was that a B?
That somewhere in the green to red scale.
Right?
All right, guys. We're gonna give Zach 20 seconds, and he's gonna tell us what the fuck just happened. All right. Are you ready, Zach?
I think so.
Okay, 3. Wait, hold on.
Oh.
En français. Toi.
Will I get extra points if I French gibberish speak the whole time?
Maybe,
I'm
but
not
you might
gonna.
lose a lot. Trois, deux, un, go!
Spike has an unfortunate chance encounter with a genetically modified assassin who has the mind of a baby but the killing of a machine, and he has a tendency to be afraid of cats. He's one of the only people to narrowly escape this person, and he ends up being taken to a theme park where Ed is trying to get rid of his force field thing, and they fight, and Spike gets to stab him, and he dies like a little bitch, the little baby, and then I still have time, and then there's a parade that stomps him to death.
Stop. So I forgot to hit the start on the timer until like at least 6 or 7 seconds in, and then I just pressed start and still gave you 20.
I panicked.
You did. I
panicked.
wanted to fuck with you. I wanted to psych you out a little bit.
I panicked.
You know, Zach, you did a pretty good job.
Yeah, but I could have done so much better if I hadn't panicked, because I knew what I wanted to say.
Yeah, you didn't really get a whole lot about the Spaceland.
Right.
You slipped in the parade, but kind of after I'd already said stop, and that was like 28 seconds in, so...
At least.
I'm going to give you a B for that, though. You got
Okay.
most of the main
Yeah.
points. You just missed
I could have done a
the
lot
little
better.
bits.
If I got a second take, I would nail it.
Yeah, we mostly would.
Well, let's talk about the episode then.
We do, but Zach, I want to real quick...
Yeah.
You know, this is the anime show that we do, and I want to highlight a new anime. I talked last
You
time.
had your chance.
I
You
didn't have
bring
my
it up
chance.
Oh.
Now,
You
my
be
time is now.
assertive that you want to say something pre-segments, but I'm kidding. What? Because you did mention it almost as soon as we got on the Zoom call today.
I did.
Yeah.
So the new summer season of shows is just starting, and I always
We've
like
learned
to highlight...
all about Golf Club. We've learned about
Yeah, Rent a
my
Girlfriend.
mail order fuck doll.
Yeah.
We've learned about all the hits playing this year.
Yeah, well, we've got a new one based on the cult popular light novel. We've got Crunchyroll's own My Stepmom's Daughter is My Ex, which I think in Japanese is just called My Stepsister is My Ex, but you know, they wanted to make it
We're pretty dumb here in
palatable.
America. You need to.
Yeah.
You can't take us from point A to point C. We've got to get everything in.
Got to
between.
get everything going
Yeah.
on there, which is the classic tale of a middle school couple who breaks up. They're going to high school now, but guess what? Their single parents get married. Now they're in the same house.
A real Drake and Josh situation.
Exactly. They don't want to make it awkward for their parents. They're not going to tell them they used to date. They just want to act normal.
I'm already out. The parents. There's no way the parents wouldn't have known that they dated.
They school dated.
Bullshit. I was kind of on board until that point.
Really? That's what did it for you?
Yeah, it felt like a fun, kooky scenario, but bullshit. The parents would know that they dated.
Would they?
Sure.
How? You think the
Okay.
Japanese parents talk to their fucking kids?
No, but I think when the parents start dating and marrying, there would be someone I feel like the information would definitely get out.
No, in these shows, Zach, you never get to meet the stepmom till they move in.
I guess that's true.
They're
I
like,
guess that's
here,
true.
son. This is your new stepmom and
Anyway,
her daughter.
okay, is
They're
it
moving
good?
into our home. It was much better than it should have been. I watched the first episode. It was
What
kooky,
kind of
little
is it? Just like a
battle-
lighthearted comedy, or is it like a relationship drama?
It's a little bit more of like
they fall
definitely
back
more
in
in the
love,
comedy.
except now
well,
they're
there was
hot
a pretty
sibs?
steamy scene because they like basically were like, well, we shouldn't be calling each other by our first names. That's weird. We should call each other like brother and sister, like you do in Japan.
Okay.
It's a whole thing.
Okay.
And so they're like, well, call me big brother. So we'll call me big sister,
I
even though they
do
were
not
born on
like
the
where
same
this is
day.
going.
She was born 30
I don't
minutes
like
earlier
the
than
look in
him.
your eye.
And they're like, well,
While you're
okay, here's the
describing this.
deal. Whoever doesn't act like sibling-y has to call the other person the big sibling. And so they're like trying to get each other to like fuck up and like be awkward. And so she's like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to come out of the shower in my towel and sit here on the couch because it's my house and I'm just being comfortable. But then she gets embarrassed. She's like, oh shit, my towel's about to fall and he's going to fucking see me. Then through an unfortunate series of events, they stumble and he lands on top of her on the couch and they have an almost steamy moment. And she's like, remember the thing, you're going to lose. And you have to call my big sister. And he's like, I don't really give a shit right now. And then the parents walk in. So she hides in the ottoman and he's like, what the fuck was I going to do? And she's like, holy shit, that was almost bad. That's why I can't stand this piece of shit. And he's like, and I can't stand that bitch. And that was the end of the first episode.
I'm never watching that.
I think it'll be entertaining. I've talked about the show Domestic Girlfriend on here before. It gives me that vibes, but a little bit less trashy, and I'm here for it.
I'm glad that you're having fun with your incest porn cartoon show.
Domestic Girlfriend, if anyone's forgetting, is the one where the kid has a crush on his teacher, but then he like hooks up with this other high school girl, but then his dad marries the mother of both of those girls, so he's in a house with both of them.
Okay, we're halfway through the podcast. Let's talk about... No, that sounds funny, but
Yeah.
I think the parents would definitely know.
Well, they'd know after they come home, and everyone's like, hey,
Where's
Mom and
the
Dad, my
son?
sister's
Can't
asleep,
find him
sorry."
around the house. Oh, he's in the ottoman?
They're like, hey, we see your fucking hair sticking out of the couch. Can you get out of there, please? Yeah.
I could smell the pre-cum when I pulled into the neighborhood.
But yeah, we're here. We're talking about Pierrot Le Fou, Pepe Le Pew.
Yeah. Well, no, let's drop our silliness a little bit because I think this is a really, really good episode of the show.
I think so too, Zach. We've got action. It's one of the first like
Different
hyper
kind of
violent
action.
episodes.
It's intense. It's
we've gotten
scary a little bit.
Yeah.
It has a lot of horror vibes to it that the show doesn't typically go into. There's almost no sci-fi elements in this episode other than, of course, like there are some spaceship moments in the theme, but it's very much like a cat and mouse game.
Yeah.
And it's fun. And the villain is interesting and feels very of a superhero villain or a horror villain, but he's still scary even though it's kind of silly. I really like it.
Yeah, we were talking before
I like it
we
more each time I watch it.
recorded it that it has some like Batman the Animated Series vibes, and when they're in the theme park it absolutely feels like some of the best like Joker Batman like battles
The
where
laugh is classic Joker.
yeah,
They should have
That's
gotten
great.
Mark Hamill to voice the dude.
that would have been incredible.
What do you like about this episode? How does this one stack up for you? I think this is probably in my top 5.
Yeah,
so
this
far.
one's one of my favorites because I think it's just so action-packed. Like, the weight of each shot that Pierre fires feels like a real gunshot. They're heavy. I think it's easy in shows. I mean, take something like G.I. Joe, for example. They're shooting like 1,000 bullets and they're just going wherever. But in this show, like, every shot that somebody takes, like, hits something and, like, either hits a person or hits something near that person. I like the gravity of it. Like, we really feel like, oh shit, this guy's really killing people. Spike needs to watch out.
Yeah, there are a lot of details that make that really stand out in this episode throughout the episode. I thought the sound design was particularly good in this
Yeah.
episode. Hearing the killer grind his teeth and like deeper and deeper throughout the episode really puts you in like, this is a deranged, like mentally ill person. And that's what feels a lot like a horror movie, you know, like your Michael Myers and stuff that are literally just these machines that there's nothing in their head. They just kill. And I feel like the episode brings that across really well. And Spike is a worthy foe for this dude because he doesn't really get scared and he doesn't really back off from a thing, even though he kind of gets quote unquote tricked into going to the theme park to stand off with them. He knows exactly
He
what's
knew what
happening
he was doing,
before
yeah.
he even goes, as soon as he sees the invite. Right? Is
Yeah.
that why Faye didn't want Ed to mention the email? Because
she
she
knew
knew
Spike
what
would
it
go.
was and knew that,
Absolutely. I think that the motivation for Spike and Pierrot here is purely like, for Pierrot, he doesn't really have a reason for doing what he's doing, but he just likes
likes it.
killing. Yeah. He's
It's
here
fun.
I go killing again. You know,
And it's very clear that he has no grasp on the pain that he's inflicting on people.
Yeah.
Because then when pain is inflicted upon him in the end of the episode, it's very clear that he's never had to experience that before. He has no concept on what he's doing. He just was built to do this thing, and he does it really well, and he has fun doing it.
I think his kind of origin is interesting. It's like if the Captain America experiment went wrong, and instead of making Chris Pine or Chris Evans, whichever one plays Captain America, is Chris Evans.
I think.
Instead of making him, you just like fried his brain and made 11 from Stranger Things, but with a top hat. Like,
I
it's wild.
really like that whole sequence when we get the flashback into how he was created. I just thought it was expertly, I don't know, the footage of needles injecting into cells, and it almost looks real, mixed with the, I don't know, you feel cloudy and hazy just like he does, and confused. And I thought it was a really well placed at that point of the episode too, to tell us, like, we kind of figured out what was going on with him, but to really get to see it in a later part of the episode, I thought was really cool, really effective.
Well, as you know, Zach, I write down like important things from the episode that we should mention at some point, and the first thing I wrote down is sakuga, which is basically the word that means moments of really high detail animation that normally cost a lot of money and take a lot of time to draw. And this episode is like full of it.
Okay.
Like you said, that
Give
whole
me some
flashback
examples.
sequence, like with the needles, with the like stuff flowing through. The fight is so fluid, even from the first time that...
The first fight,
Yeah.
I think... The second fight, obviously, is probably a little more impressive because it takes up such a huge chunk of the episode. But the first fight, you're really just dropped into it, and Spike gets the shit kicked out of him.
Yeah.
And it's pretty effective.
Instead of having like a punch starts being thrown, then it gets hit, we see every bit of like the punch traveling.
Sure.
We see all the movement. And that takes so much time and effort to do that well, and they like threw a ton of it in this
frame
episode.
like that and make it a fluid motion. Yeah. Well,
it's so good.
even to think about the sequence, the animation of the pool table.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I felt like in the animation, it even caught, you know, when you're playing pool and you hit the cue ball and it has that really satisfying where it's not rolling, but just skating across the table. I feel like they animated that for a second and then it rolls again and hits. I just thought that was really satisfying.
So good.
Really fluid.
That opening
I love
scene
fluid
is so cool.
hand-drawn animation.
Another, I think, really smart choice is there's not a lot of music in this episode. Especially not the first half, and
then it's
frees
more
our mind.
setting music. It's like the noises from the theme park in the second half of the episode.
And I think that kind of frees up our attention a little bit to focus on the animation and really appreciate how cool
I think
it is.
Also, even though horror movies have their music, I think it adds to what gives this episode a different vibe. It leaves you on edge the whole time because there's no snap, jazzy... You don't really got to worry about anything because everything's to the beat of music. You know, it's really intense and it's quiet and it's spooky and it's eerie.
I think that's, one of my favorite anime fights of all time is at the very end of the show Naruto, which you should check it out, Zach. It's only like 750 episodes.
That's the one anime that I got into for a while when I was a kid. But I probably watched like the first 50-ish episodes, and I think I read the first like 4 or 5 volumes.
Nice.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were a Naruto fan, Zach. We should talk about it more.
Well, I never got into it as much. Like, I only started it. It was similar to how I'd love to be into Doctor Who.
Sure.
Because so many people like it, and it seems like a cool thing to be a part of. And I tried it, and I see the appeal, but I didn't get hooked.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, the last fight in Naruto, and Naruto's a very music-heavy show, pretty iconic sounds all the time, but the final fight is just the fight, and it makes it have so much more weight because the emotional weight of that fight is beyond that. And I think this episode kind of uses a similar trick where the music is normally on par with whatever else is happening. Like, they're both equally important in this show because it moves to the beat of jazz. You know, we got a whole cosmic gumbo situation going on here. But in this episode, it's not a quirky, fun bounty hunt adventure. There's no prize for Spike winning this fight, except he doesn't die.
He just got unlucky and was in the crosshairs of this guy. He's an assassin and seems to have some notoriety. People know who he is, know about this guy. They talk about him. So there is like a larger world story there, even if it's not like the bounty that they're going after. But it really does feel like Spike gets unlucky, or in the end, maybe Pierrot, maybe he got unlucky. You know, he got unlucky to
because like the
be in
Spike
the
was the one that he. The one thing that I don't totally understand, Faye getting the message about going to the park. I don't totally understand where that comes from. Because if Pierrot is so unhinged, it doesn't really understand, how's he going to track them down and send that message?
Or if he can do that, could he not also just find where Spike is?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's my only like thing.
I didn't
that
think
makes
about
me,
that,
like,
but that
question.
makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Oh, we haven't talked about the fucking scary ass animatronics yet.
Yeah,
I'm not
very
a Five Nights at
Freddy's
yeah.
adjacent.
I'm familiar with the series.
Yeah.
People that are probably like a few years younger than us got like really into that whole thing.
It was a little after our time. Not that we wouldn't have fun with the games, but the
lore and stuff's a little
kind of like
much.
Fortnite. Like, I know people our age play Fortnite, but it was like after we were in high school.
Exactly. It's terrifying. And this was way before Five Nights at Freddy's, so I mean, clearly animatronics have been thought of as scary for a long ass time.
See, I don't really find the animatronics that scary in this episode.
I think that the parade's a little ominous.
I mean, there's no sense of like these things have a mind of their own. They're just like the set dressing to me.
You're telling me that big, tall, skinny guy that walks by Faye when her plane crashes isn't terrifying?
Maybe.
He looks like the
think,
Babadook.
I don't think it's anything near as scary as like the action that's going on in front of it.
That's fair. I think for me, though, it adds to the
theme park
scary
setting's
ambiance.
really cool. Especially with the killer being like a little kid,
Yeah.
with all the laughing, and I love theme parks. It reminds me also of one of the very first episodes of Futurama, which aired about this same time, was a theme park that's on the moon. It's like in the future, going to the moon isn't a big deal anymore, so they've like touristy turned it into a theme park. And I don't know, I like the concept of a space theme park.
Yeah.
That space travel has come so far that it's now a tourism destination, and there's a theme park. I think that's funny.
Yeah,
and I
like
theme
that.
parks, so it's a cool setting. There was some cool roller coaster design in the episode.
Yeah, that looked fun as
I would
hell.
ride some of those rides. What else do you want to talk about while we got time?
Jet and Faye. They're not at the
And
forefront in this episode. And Ed.
Ed has some funny moments.
Yes, I like Ed's bit. You know, I think Ed does what Ed needs to do in this episode to fill my
Well,
Ed
Ed's
cup.
really important to the episode because
Yeah.
he's the reason the force field comes down.
Exactly. But I was saying Jet and Faye don't really play a major role in this one, but they are support for Spike, and I like that. I mean, we have Jet who's like, Spike, you shouldn't be getting into this. Like, this is more than you think it is, so I got to go help him. We have Faye who, she and Spike have kind of a nice moment where...
A really nice moment.
A little bit reminiscent of early on in the series when Spike is all taped up after falling out of the church window. And Faye is kind of like, you're kind of helpless, like whatever. And here it's a similar thing. She's like, you just keep getting beat up like this. And he's like, well, would you come to help me? Like if I was really dying. And I think Spike all the time, even in the last episode, is always like, well, this could be the last time you see me. I'm going off to die. And he kind of makes a joke about that in this one that I really like. But he's
like, this
serious.
is really the time. Just kidding. I'm fine.
But it's true. And Spike is always running off to do these things. And he very well could not come
With
back a lot
no
of them.
second thought.
Yeah.
Just runs right into it. I thought the moment with Faye and Spike was nice because Faye keeps calling Spike a lunkhead. Mm-hmm. It mirrors earlier in the series, but it's with a lot more fondness than what it was before. Like in the beginning of the show, they truly did not like each other. And here they butt heads, but it's a lot more brother-sister where, would you come and help me? And she obviously, yes, would, but instead is like, you're an idiot. Can't say that. I think it's cute.
One thing I wanted to make note of, because I mentioned it in an earlier episode, Ed finally calls Faye in this episode. And in the Japanese one, Ed calls her that a lot
all
earlier.
the time.
Yeah.
Interesting.
They probably just couldn't get around it this time because Faye actually addresses it and is like...
Well, they make a cute deal out of it, and it works it being the first time, too, because Faye's like, that's annoying, don't do that, just call me Faye. It just seems like the weird thing that Ed is caught onto this episode. And I like the part when Faye is trying to read the email and is like, hold still, and holds like the laptop still, but Ed is still like weaseling around underneath it. I thought
Well, because I absolutely
cute.
was that kid that was like, hey, Mom, look at this game, like was moving my Game Boy all around. And
You
she's
still
like,
are. You were trying to show me stuff on your phone screen through a Zoom call today.
Because you were trying to say
Yeah,
that Faye's
let's
black
get into
straps
it.
were a thong. They're overalls.
I see it now, but it's a little... I don't know.
Now who's sexualizing the drawing?
No. Not seductive. Who's sexualizing the drawing? You just put sexy thoughts into my head. I wasn't even going
I'm glad.
that way.
That's my goal.
I was thinking like, I don't know. I feel like the suspenders aren't necessary for the outfit.
Well, her shorts aren't buttons, Zach, so they are.
And I guess that's true. Well, it would have made sense if it was a thong, because it kind of curves up her body in the way that like a thong would catch hips, but it goes up higher, and Faye doesn't have any hips. Whatever. That's not. That's a whole can of worms. We could do a whole podcast about the thong.
Oh, we will.
Suspender lines. We will.
That's after we finish the live action.
Oh, that'll be interesting. What's Faye wearing in the live action?
Very
Is it a
different
thong or
clothes.
Suspenders. Well, yeah, because that wouldn't work on a real person. They would be nude all the time.
I follow enough cosplayers to know you can do it, but not if you're going to move around. It works well static if you're just posing. But try and take one step
Most
and your
things do.
whole...
Yeah. Do you have any last thoughts before we give it, Captain? Do you think we got it out? I really like this episode.
Yeah.
We only have a few episodes left of the show, and this episode both is one of those great villain of the week episodes, and it changes up the whole vibe, so it doesn't just feel like them doing a thing again.
This is one of my go-to, like, if I want to watch some Cowboy Bebop, this is in, like, the 5 rotation episodes that I'll throw on, just because it's got all the dark that I like. All the characters get at least some moment that I enjoy. And the action is just so... Heavy is the word I keep using, but just because there's weight to everything that they do in this one. It reminds me of the Vicious and Spike fight where you feel every blow that lands, you know? And I think that's
We've
so
been
cool.
saying a lot lately about how certain episodes would be good first episodes for people. I don't think this would be a good first episode for somebody.
Probably not, no, because it doesn't really talk
about
about
It might
the
be an
show.
okay episode if you're never going to watch the show again, because it kind of is a one-off story.
Yeah.
But I don't think you quite get an idea of the show from this episode because it's in a different genre almost this week. I don't know. Just a thought I had.
It's cool, though.
That's not to say it's not one of my favorite episodes of the show. It is. I just don't think it's the best introduction.
This one's tough this week. I'm going to give my honorable mention to Pierrot this week. I think he's an awesome villain. Probably my second favorite villain that the show has had so far. Under the...
Hakim? No,
not Hakim. The guy that was the escaped convict that
guy?
killed the whole spaceship full of people. The scary guy with the blade.
Oh, that might have been Hakim.
Was his name Hakim?
I don't know.
Hakim was the undercover guy who did the
you're right.
costume, the cosplayer. The other guys is probably a little bit on even keel, but definitely top 3 villains of the whole show. He's awesome, but I gotta give it to Spike. Spike is just a fucking badass this week. He is like ready to go into danger and die just because he got his ass whooped, and he was like, well, can't let that stand, so might as well go in this amusement park. Spike adapting to being out of his element when it comes to the terrain of the fight and like jumping through like the roller coaster. Super cool, super badass. This is a really, really, really cool Spike moment. And for people who like, Spike's probably my favorite character of the show. This is like,
because we all know
like
Steven
Spike
needs a boy to place himself into.
I do not place myself as Spike, actually.
You don't think so?
Zach. No.
You place yourself into Faye or Jet.
I wish. Hey, well, Jet's black, so...
I don't really see you so much as Jet, but I could see the aspect of being really anal about the way things are run on the ship and the cooking and the tending to the garden. I could see you in some of that. Not so much the cop thing.
Yeah, all cops are bad. Even Jet.
I'm gonna flip-flop yours. I am gonna give the little clown boy my honorable mention. The reason not Spike. Spike is really badass in this episode, but he often is, and I don't think it necessarily gives me anything we haven't seen out of Spike before. Of course he's gonna throw himself into this situation and without making it look like a big deal, nail it, you know? But the villain is so unique. And even though it's reminiscent of comic book characters, it's a unique villain. I haven't seen a character like that before, and it's unique to this show. He's not just some bounty. I gotta give it to him. It was entertaining.
I like it.
Yeah.
I'm on board. That's a buy.
And that's the show. I had a lot of fun talking about this one with you, Steven.
Yeah, I feel like we could talk for like an hour on this episode. It was so cool.
I feel like we could talk an hour about most of them. But there's also something about having a half hour stuffed with what we'd like to say, and there still being more that we could have said.
Exactly. Go watch
Next
the
week,
episode.
We're talking about Boogie Woogie Feng Shui. I like the name of that.
Boogie Woogie Feng Shui. Little preview. We get to learn a little more about Jet's past, kind of.
How close are we to the episode that kind of sets up the movie? Do you know which episode that is?
The movie happens between 21 and 23, I think.
We got Boogie Woogie Feng Shui, and then it's Cowboy Funk, and then it's Brain Scratch.
Well, there's not really an episode that sets up the movie.
Oh, I
the
thought
movie
an
just
episode
takes place
it just takes place in between two
Takes
episodes.
place between 21 and 23, I think.
All right, well, thanks for listening, guys. We'll be back next week with another steaming hot pile of Brokeback Bebop.
Hey, yo.
Bye,
Bow, wow, bow, wow, bow, wow.
There's music
bow,
playing. You
wow,
gotta do
wow,
that.
wow, wow.
Thanks for listening. Support this show and our podcast network at patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast, where starting at $5 a month, you can get immediate access to all 40 outrageous sessions of Brokeback Bebop. See you next time, Space Cowboy.